So anyway,
What's
I
the
think
spicy drama, Travis? Just
yeah.
drop
Okay, so
it.
we'll get some calls obviously about lock-in. Would love to hear people's opinions on it or whatever. All right. So here's the spicy news. And if you think about it, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. But I have been informed
Oh,
that uh, some amount, I don't know if it's all of them or some of them, but some of the LCS teams are pushing Riot to remove the import restriction for the LCS. The idea being that you could import as many players as you want. So you could do the full Korean team and all that stuff back in the day. I have reached out to Riot, who essentially declined to comment on this. And I mean, for folks, I think part of the reason why I mean, beyond the fact that I trust my sources, part of the reason I believe it is because I think it was like Jack and Steve were on a Thorin show towards the end of last year talking about how they didn't like the import restriction rule or they thought it should be changed or lifted or something. So that is it. So what I'm really curious about is I actually don't know where the community would fall on this. My suspicion is that people will have fairly strong opinions, and there will be obviously a camp in both where they're like, hey, I want the best play, or I think, we're already so much of an import league that we should just be able to do this or whatever. And I want to see LCS win, and whatever, maybe if that's, five Koreans all playing together, that's completely fine. I think there are others that are going to be really against it. But I don't know what the percentage is. I don't know if the majority of people would support or be against or whatever. So I'm very curious to hear people's opinions tonight about it. If folks have takes about it, they want to call in or whatever. By the way, I'm not saying that this is guaranteed that this is going to happen, but I do know that this is, or at least I've been told, that this is something that a lot of the owners are pushing for and want Riot to make a change on. So
What about the less teams with less cash flow? Like do you know what they think? Because you sound like you mentioned a couple of the big dogs are probably for it, but what about?
Well, so it's unclear to me. So I think there's some sense from talking to people about it, and this is where I'm kind of speculating a little bit. Like this, I'm not trying to say that these are the exact reasons before somebody quotes this and puts it on Reddit, but I think
Someone
there's
clip it
some.
and put it on Reddit, by the way, so drive our
instantly,
trash.
right
I think
now.
There you
there's
go.
some sense that this might drive prices down on salaries, right? Because theoretically, you don't need to pay, like, especially these players who are like Impact is a good example of that, right? Where he is a great player who is a resident, but like you want him on your team, but whatever. So perhaps you can pay people less because the supply potentially goes up, right? I mean, for instance, the LCS, like and it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because the native North American players would now have to compete against other players from other regions for their spots. They wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed X number per team. And so as supply goes up, demand goes down, which would lower the prices for some of the salaries on these players. I think that's part of the reason. I think other reasons are people think like, hey, we need to win. We're not going to win if we can't import these players. I don't know. But I mean, again, Steve and Jack, I think, talked about this on Thorin's show, so people can go see the reasons they listed. I don't know if there's a variety of different reasons or not, but would be very interesting to see if this ends up changing at some point in time this year or not. I don't know what Riot's going to do.
What do you have a instinct on it, Raz? Do you like this idea? Gut reaction?
I don't. Mostly because every other region is held to the same kind of rules and restrictions. I know some regions like LPL is much harder, but because getting a green card is harder, things like that. And also, I think it comes down to a trust factor and picking which players you deem is better than domestic talent. I don't have that trust in teams picking a player that they deem is better than North American players that we have in the academy system. I think we made a huge leap actually this year with the amateur system and bringing people up, and I want to see that continue. And I think it would be a bad decision to open the gates and allow for players who, I mean, it really does depend on management. Maybe it doesn't mean too much because I'm looking at the rosters right now, and a lot of the rosters don't even hit the 2-player import, rule. But I just don't like it. I don't think that it's, healthy for North America, bringing, for North American talent. And also just in terms of fairness with the other regions. I know people will always use fairness with the other regions, say that North America has never, done that in international events. But if you start importing players who are, not able to make it to LCK teams or LPL teams, it's not like it's going to change. I don't think results will change at all.
Yeah, I think there is a portion of the fan base who wouldn't care and just be like, cool, we get better players that I get to watch. But you can watch them right now. If you want to watch the highest tier League of Legends, watch when Dom1 plays, watch when FBX, IG, whoever you like plays. Go watch them right now. Just because, like, if the Shy comes to North America, you watch him in LPL against higher competition. So I think it would not really service those people who would be down for it because they already are being serviced in that regard. If it's like, I want to watch the best play, I think it would piss off a lot of people too. A lot of fans would not be happy about watching multiple all import squads. I think people talk about LMQ, and I think LMQ is remembered pretty fondly in the community. But they were an oddity in that regard. They were the only team that managed to do it. Quantic tried, they busted out. LMQ managed to pull it off. They went to Worlds and they disappeared after these changes and stuff. But they were pretty funny. They were honestly a decently interesting group of guys to watch, and they were good. And I think what you would see is there'd be multiple teams like them. Not all of them have as much personality, and not all of them would be as good. And I think that would, I don't know. I think it would get old really fast. And then even if you do see success with an all import squad, it's just the naysayers are just loaded up with ammo.
Yeah, I think what I like right now is even in a world where, let's say Tactical was somebody you can build these rosters right now where it's 5 players who are not not all people that were born in Canada or America, however you want to describe it, that people who have moved over here to play League of Legends and over time become part of the system through either grandfathering or otherwise. Those that if Cena or if TL won right now, I don't think people would say there'd be some naysayers, but they wouldn't be like, wow, TL won MSI, it doesn't count but if next year we just had 5 new players who had never competed in League before. 3 months later, they win. Sorry, who never competed in the League right before LCS, who 3 months later go and win an MSI trophy for LCS. I think that would feel very strange. So obviously that's an extreme version of this, but I think that's why there's kind of a slider on the import stuff. By the way, I ran a poll a little bit ago. I think it was 4% I don't care, 19%. That they said no, but the vast majority, everybody else said yes. So what that tells me is, by the way, because so few people voted I don't care, this is something a lot of people care about. Not that I think my Twitch chat is necessarily representative of the entire League audience, but you get my point.
So I have 2 takes on this. First things first.
It was the other way around?
Most people voted no, saying that they don't want the restrictions. Sorry if I said that backwards.
Yeah, you said it that
most people do not want the import rule restricted.
Okay. So while Travis is receiving the goods, first things first for me, I do believe that there, if you open if you take away the restrictions, for sure, you can build teams that are objectively strong. I believe if the general managers make the right decisions, or the teams the ownership makes the right decisions in terms of picking players from, either Europe, China or Korea, I'm sure you can build pretty strong rosters and you can have an objectively stronger LCS. But for me, the one thing that I kind of push back on is that I don't necessarily believe, just from decisions that have been made in the previous years, that would actually happen. I think branding matters a lot. So if somebody has like a large kind of, let's just say if they went to Worlds, and regardless of the level of play that they showcased, they might have a higher chance of making it in North America. That's what I'm concerned about. That's the first thing that I'm worried about.
Mark, go ahead and explain what the poll.
And the last
said.
thing.
Sorry.
Last thing. You already did. What the hell? How many times do you have to explain it, Travis?
Well, apparently I keep saying it wrong, so I know what the poll
you
said, but I can't speak
Right.
correctly tonight apparently.
And the last thing is I know that I've always been concerned of like the whole xenophobia of, you know, foreigners come in, etc., taking our jobs and all that. And I don't want my opinion to be an echo of that, because that's literally America, by the way, like the land of opportunity. It's a nation of immigrants, so people coming into the country to find a new home and et cetera, like that's literally what the country is about. And I know that's a philosophical debate, and that'll go on forever as Travis has blacked himself out as he's on his food. But like, so I do want to push back for that. I just do think that it's a gray area, and for me, I think that we have a lot of great players that are coming up in amateur and academy that are at the level. A lot of talents that, you know, ownership would probably end up bringing in. And I also think that the bottom 5 teams don't even hit that 2-player kind of limit. So I just don't feel like it's necessary and that we should do it.
Mark, do you want to explain what the poll said?
Yeah. First, I want to just echo the point that Raz was saying about like it's not xenophobia. It's more like the community of people. We want to actually be the ones to win, not people who came from Korea and then won for us or something. Like, I think there's like a, you know, we want to do it, and not we as in like NA, but like people who are actually a part of the system. So like, you know, someone like Santorin or Jensen, who are technically NA residents because they declared to be NA residents and have played the vast majority of their careers there. I think for a lot of people, same with Bjergsen and a number of other players, like to them that is an NA player, and it's not because they actually are American. It's because they're part of the LCS scene. So that's why I think I don't see the xenophobic angle of it. I see it more as like a people who have gone through the same things.
And a final thing, I think we need to get to a point where we, as I said, fairness, because I know North America is the region that's performing quite poor internationally, but that shouldn't mean we keep pushing to like allow special, you know, rights to the LCS. If we're making it so the limit's broken in LCS, it has to be broken everywhere. like the LPL, yeah. The LCK, Europe. At that point, they should be allowed to have any player come in and play within their teams without restriction. So that's what I'm more so referring to. I think that if LCS is going to do it, and you know, this is all speculation and it's all based off of Travis sources, and Travis has, you know, pretty trustworthy sources. Then I just don't think it should be a North American specific thing.
All right, and then here's my clearing up what Travis was trying to say. Twitch chat is pro import rules.
Yes.
They want import restrictions. Travis, you kept saying that they don't want restrictions.
Yeah, I was double negativing a ton.
Yeah, you were double. They want restrictions on the restriction.
I knew what they meant. I just was
failing
at verbalizing it.
I was confused. I was like, really? Twitch chat is pro all imports? I got confused. I wasn't looking at the poll.
Look, I will, for the first time in my career, apologize to Twitch chat. All right. Normally, I'm of the opinion that they should be apologizing to me, but here I say I apologize for misrepresenting your opinions, Twitch chat.
Write it down in Twitch chat.
And I think we should celebrate this moment by sending some Prime subs to the channel. I think we can just commemorate this.
What?
Anyway,
you're trying to fail upwards.
So
you're like, I made a horrible point. I need to apologize, and now that I've shown I'm such a big person, please give me subs.
Well, it's a demonstration of unity.
Philosophy right here.
Unity is very important, Mark, and so I think we as a community, this Hotline League channel, we need to demonstrate unity right now by just all contributing to the channel with subs. Hey, thanks so much for watching that interview. Last year sucked. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there were some great moments, and your support of this channel was one of those fantastic things about last year, but there were a lot of not so fun things. I'm looking forward to amazing things this year. And speaking of amazing things, if you'd like to check out Alienware's new M15 and M17, the R4 versions with the new NVIDIA graphics, you can do that at the link in the description, alienware.com/Travis. Travis 10 off Q4 will save you 10% off that order. We thank Alienware so much for their support of this channel.